Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled every week to bring you different thought leaders from around the world, and I cannot wait for you all to hear this conversation today. I have the one, the only 2025-26 TEPSA State President, Dana Harley Boyd, on with me. Dana, welcome. Introduce yourself to everybody.
My name is Dana Harley Boyd. I am proudly representing from El Paso, Texas. I am an executive principal in the El Paso Independent School District. Yeah. What else do you want to know?
And our new state president.
Oh, yes. And our new state president for TEPSA. Yes, definitely.
Oh, well, Dana, I am so excited to get to talk with you today and to let people learn a little bit more about you. I've got to spend a lot of time with you, and I have so many things that I want to dive into about today. But I first would love to just talk to you a little bit about your journey. You know, you've served in a couple different leadership roles since being a classroom teacher. When did you know that those leadership type roles was something that you might excel at or enjoy?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that it just started really early on in my teaching career. Just the passion that I had with teaching, I just felt like, you know, there's a bigger audience where you can bring parents together and you can bring teachers together. So I think probably my third or fourth year of teaching, I was like, okay, I think I can do this, or I want to do this. I had a phenomenal principal, and I wanted to emulate how she built culture, but still held the accountability. That was important. So just being, you know, former military, there's just so many things that I think that I could help bring as a campus administrator with just my background. And also, I mean, being honest, there's not a lot of principals of color in El Paso, Texas. And I felt that others being able to see someone that looks like them was important, especially we have a huge military base here in El Paso. And I thought that that was important for them to be able to connect into the parents as well. And I just love what I do. And I love everything about being the person that can impact beyond the four walls, that you can impact an entire building. So I think that's where I started getting like the admin, you know, to take that role. Definitely.
Well, you know, there's something you said in there that I've always been impressed with you about, is you very proudly advocate for the fact that you don't always represent what some may view as the norm. And I love that you embrace that fully, but like I said, you also advocate for that and really want people to know, like, this is who I am, this is what I do, what I believe, and I do this to help give voices to others who may feel like they haven't had their voice amplified or represented or anything like that. Has that always been part of your mission, or is that something that really resonated with you at some point along the way and you were like, I need to be more vocal about this?
I think that can go in two ways. I think that's the way that I was raised, that you have a voice, right? And you need to be able to use it. And I definitely empowered my students when I was a teacher to be able to have that voice. I feel sometimes the higher you go, your voice becomes minimal because of mandates or because of things that are happening. But I still think it's important for principals to be able, or administrators, whomever, in whatever realm, to be able to use your voice, because a lot of time people will always say, well, nobody asked us, or why didn't we have a voice, right? So if the opportunity comes to put yourself at the table, I think it's important for people to feel confident to be able to say, yes, my voice does count. We might not always agree with what it is, but sometimes we only think our way is the right way, and we don't allow others to be able to have that voice to make us sit back and think, you know what, I didn't think about that as a perspective. And I can give you an example. When I had, I don't know who it was, an administrator tell me you cannot be a clock watcher when you are a principal. That many times principals will judge teachers when they'll say like they're right out the door at 3:30, 3:45, but we don't realize like they got to go pick up kids from daycare, and then how much other work are they doing when they get home that they, a lot of sometimes people just stay in the buildings to be able to do, right? And the question that she told me is that teacher effective when they are during the instructional time in the classroom? Do they give their best, would you say? And the answer was yes. So to be able to have those things for people as mentors, but also for them to speak to me, to be able to say, yeah, like I'm going to give my best every time. And I think what I didn't have a voice was advocacy. I think TEPSA has helped me learn regarding advocacy or bills that are being passed, because so many educators, we don't talk about that. Even as simple as going to your board meetings, there are so many things going on your local board meetings that we know nothing about. So that's where that encouragement, as I learn and I grow, then I try to do the same thing for others when I have the opportunity to be able to advocate for that.
That was such a good perspective, and I love that you shared that, especially about people who may clock out at the end of the day and head home. And I mean, that's such a good thing for leaders to hear and think about.
Mhm.
Well, Dana, at some point, you won National Distinguished Principal of the Year for Texas, and we were so proud to have you represent for our state. Talk to me a little bit about what that experience was like, because there's one way that we see it on the outside for those who get selected or celebrated, but sometimes when you're the one getting selected for that or being
Yeah.
celebrated, it's a little bit of a different experience. So tell us a little bit about how that was for you.
I think that a lot of times, again, we as educators don't toot our own horns, or
Mhm.
we have people that toot the horn for us. So I was hesitant to be able to put in. I think years past I had been nominated. I'm like, no, like, no, 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 right? And then the year that I decided, it was like, okay, let's go ahead and do that. I mean, the formalities of the packet, and you're like, well, you get to talk a little bit about yourself. But then when you actually win and they have that amazing ceremony where the TEPSA people just surprise and show up and it's all the bells and whistles, you just have to be humble regarding that. Once that happens, it opens up the opportunities for meeting the NDPs from every state when you go to Washington, D.C., and you just learn and you network. And that also led me to be able to be on the National Assessment Governing Board. You just get huge opportunities as part of being an NDP, and it just opens, and then it also broadens your horizons of, I never looked at things that way. Like we did a lot of work with NAEP, and Texas is not a big NAEP state, but it's important that I was educated about something that I didn't know. So
Yeah.
the bells and whistles and everything that Mark Terry and Karen Terry, they take you around like you are VIP, and you'll always be an NDP. That's one of the things they always said is, okay, I was the 2017 National Distinguished Principal, and there you'll always be an NDP. Just because
Mhm.
somebody else, that is something that will stay as part of your legacy, that is something that will always be a part of you. Definitely.
Well, what I love that you shared just then, though, was that the importance of we can't be afraid to toot our own horn.
Hmm.
And I think that that was really powerful to hear you say, because there's so many amazing teachers, administrators, all kinds of things who nobody knows the great work they're doing because they think it's just average or
Right.
normal, and it's not.
No,
And
it's
just
not.
when you have things like it's submitting that paperwork to be recognized, I think is important because the work you
Absolutely.
do is important.
It is. It is. And I think as principals, a lot of times one of the things we have is like teacher of the year nominations. And a lot of times we do the self nominations. Either a teacher self nominates or they wait for their peers. And sometimes, I'll go back to Gary Brooks. There's that PJ, that professional jealousy that people see and know that there's people doing good works, but their peers will not nominate them for some reason. It's like you have to push. But what I started doing was just putting in nominations myself for those teachers of the year, because it's like, if I don't recognize you, then who will? And then, of course, when it comes to the voting, I didn't vote, but then their peers were, because they deserve to be able to get that, and then deserve to be able to put it on social media and things, and let them be able to, experience that joy, and just like, this is what you came for. It's not something that it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like, it's really validating the work that you have done in your school community.
I couldn't agree more, and I love that you shared that. Well, Dana, as we said at the top of this episode, you are the current TEPSA State President. And so, obviously, at some point in your path, I mean, you'd been a TEPSA member for years, but you decided, you know what? I kind of want to lead at TEPSA too. What was that journey like for you? And then now being in this role as representing us for the whole state of Texas, what are your hopes and dreams for this position? So a little two-part answer.
Yeah, so there was a lot in that question. So I was fortunate to be on a standing committee that someone nominated me. Of course, I was regional, served in the region for here, our regional board. And through the regional board, a lot of times you'll have the opportunity to be a standing committee member. I was on advocacy, and I was scared to be on advocacy because, again, that's not our normal, to be able to know, like, go talk to legislators, go talk. It was like, oh no, right? Or just learning, like, I mean, just the process with that. So started with that. And then I had a former TEPSA president, Nancy, to be able to say, hey, you should think about running for a member at large. And I'm like, oh, and I just remember sitting in the TEPSA summer conferences, and you see like the executive committee, and it's like, wow, that's pretty awesome. But what is part of that? And I put that in, decided, okay, do it. I ended up running against somebody that I went to school with. We were in the same city, but we both were cheering for each other. And I tell you, through the process of going through TEPSA, just the networking and the relationships that you build with those on the executive committee, or those that you meet that are on regional board. And then actually it was Mike Cooper Hilton that said it again, Dana, we need to be able to make sure that our executive committee represents the teachers, the students, and the principals that we serve. So he's like, you need to be able to get out there and get out there and run. So yeah, I put my hat in, and the rest, like we say, is history. So it's an amazing process that I know other people are saying, yeah, I think that I could do that. But truly, truly, to put yourself out there and be a part of this experience, it's more than a membership that you can say, I'm a part of something for legal. There's networking, there's professional development, there's relationships. There's so many things that are a part of TEPSA that, I wouldn't go back on any of it, to be quite honest with you.
So now we're in your tenure as president.
Yes.
And so tell us a little about the theme you selected this year
Yes.
as you lead us, and kind of what your hopes are for you and TEPSA this year.
Absolutely. So my theme is leave an unforgettable legacy. I just feel that every time, either on Facebook, I can go to a fast food restaurant, and you see that student that's like, oh my God, Miss Boyd. I was just in Ann Taylor a couple of days, and they're like, were you the assistant principal at, they were like, I loved you. You were my favorite. I remember when you used to do these things, right? And we don't remember every child's name, but the impact was left, and that was the legacy that was left. So I think it's so important. Your legacy could be good. You could be the worst principal, the worst teacher, and they're still going to remember that, or you can be the best. And that's what drives them, and that's what drives what they want for their kids, to be able to have somebody like that as their educator in whatever aspect. So that was my push to our TEPSA members, and just people in general, is to leave an unforgettable legacy. And it's funny, yesterday we met with our principals. I had my PLC And I didn't even know you were going to ask this. But what we had is here, you'll see, we asked all of my principals to write themselves a legacy letter to themselves. They dated it. So all of them wrote a legacy letter to themselves. And what I told them is, what was the legacy that you wanted to build for this school year? I want you to write it to yourself. And what I told them with these letters is, when you are in down and out, or it could be in October, it could be when star season, I am going to give you this letter, and I want you to be able to reflect on, did that impact that you had for the legacy that you wanted to leave, did you leave it? Did you live it? Or do you still have time to be able to make that impact, right? So that's where I'm continuing to make just make that connection. My email group is called Legacy Leaders. So I still want them to be able to understand what it is that each one of us brings to the table, even those outside of education, like, you get something from Starbucks or you get something at the restaurant. How do you interact with those people? Just even asking, so how is your day going? And they look at you like, oh my gosh, like you care? Yes, well, that impact left a legacy on them for that day. So we don't have to talk about like long term. You can leave an impact of a legacy just with regular old folks that you meet.
I love it. Well, Dana, as we begin to wrap this conversation up, there's one question that I like to end these on, and that is, you've got a variety of people listening or watching this episode today, and if you want them to walk away with just one thing from Dana Harley Boyd, like this is the one thing I hope that you hear from this talk today, what is your one thing for our listeners?
I think I'm going to go back to a speaker called Stephen Peters that I heard way back when I first started. And he said, even on your worst day, you are still somebody's hope. So in leaving that impact on whoever it is that you have, you don't know what it is that you can bring to somebody. And I'm going to just say, I can use my experience with you. Like, I remember being in summer conference, we were at the Renaissance in that packed room, and I'm like, oh my God, that is Todd. And you told us how to be able to use Boxer. You just gave us all of these tips, and that bridged me to share with principals. And then that led to them sharing with others. And now, like, look where you are. But I just was like a Todd groupie, sorry, kind of stalked him, and he had his Kid Deserve It shirt. I remember to this day, but you gave me hope. I would always go to summer conference. Scores would come out every year at summer conference, and we'd be on this high and everybody would get the scores, and it was like, ba, ba, ba. But I went to one of your sessions for the Kids Deserve It, and you talk so passionate about what it is that we can do. And that's, like I said, that's why I say, even on the worst day, on the star when we got the results, like those kids still want to be with us. Those teachers still want to be a part of it. So that's one of the things that I would push is just, you were somebody's hope.
First of all, thank you for sharing that. Second of all, I love that. And I think that's such a great way to end this, is for letting people hear those brilliant words of wisdom. Well, Dana, if people would like to connect with you more or learn more about you, is there somewhere they can connect with you at?
Sure, I am at Dana Harley Boyd. No, at Dana B0922. I think that's what it is. I think it's because I never tweet to myself or X to myself. Definitely. But I am Dana Boyd on X. I still say Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. So you can search me. I will be there. And yeah, let's connect. Send me an email. dkboyd@EPISD, or I have Spartan Principal, because I'm always going to always remember the first school that I became a principal, and they were the Spartans. So because of that, I always keep that email, spartanprincipal@me.com. So definitely. All right. Or they can go through you, Todd. I can make you my agent, right?
That's right. I can connect you with Dana. If you need the hookup, I got you, people. If you want to learn more or connect with Dana, I can make that connection for sure.
Thank you,
Well,
Todd. Yes.
Thank you, Dana, for being a guest this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening or watching another episode. We hope you join us for the next episode next week. But also, you can check out all the past episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts today. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, guys.